know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
Hello and welcome to What the F*** Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditis. Let's get to it. It's Wednesday, January 6th, 2021. Welcome to day 1448. Mike Pence rejected Trump's demand to block the certification of Biden's win, saying only lawmakers can decide whether to accept or reject the Electoral College votes. On Tuesday, Pence told Trump that he does not have the authority to reject the electoral votes from the states he lost. The meeting came hours after Trump inaccurately tweeted that the vice president has the power to reject fraudulently chosen electors. That statement is not true, and the vice president does not have the unilateral power to alter the results sent to Congress. On Wednesday, Pence informed lawmakers that he was rebuffing Trump's demand as lawmakers gathered for a joint session of Congress to count the electoral votes, saying, "It is my considered judgment that my oath to support and defend the Constitution constrains me from claiming unilateral authority to determine which electoral votes should be counted and which should not." Meanwhile, Mitch McConnell rebuked his Republican colleagues' efforts to block the certification of the Electoral College votes, saying that overturning the results of the election would damage our republic forever and risked sending democracy into a death spiral. McConnell's speech came after an objection was raised to the certification of Arizona's 11 electoral votes to Biden and Harris by Representative Paul Gosar and 60 other House colleagues, minutes into the proceeding. McConnell denounced Trump's sweeping conspiracy theories about election fraud and said he will not pretend voting to overturn the election would be a harmless protest gesture. Trump encouraged thousands of supporters at a rally at the Ellipse to protest the count of electoral votes at the Capitol, saying, "We're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong." Trump, speaking about an hour before the start of the joint session of Congress, told his fans, "We will never give up. We will never concede. You don't concede when there is theft involved. Your country has had enough. We will not take it anymore. We won this election and we won it by a landslide. This was not a close election." He added, "We will stop the steal. I'm going to be watching because history is going to be made." During the rally, Trump urged Mike Pence to take action, saying, "If not, I'm going to be very disappointed in you," and then vowed to primary the hell out of members of Congress who didn't go along with his bid to overturn the election results, calling them pathetic and weak Republicans. Shortly after, the United States Capitol went into lockdown as a mob of Trump supporters surrounded and then stormed the building, forcing Congress to abruptly pause the constitutional process to affirm Biden's win. Shortly after 1 p.m. Eastern Time, House offices were evacuated as Trump supporters stormed Capitol barriers and dozens of people breached the building while the constitutional proceedings continued inside. Lawmakers inside the House chamber were told to shelter in place and put on gas masks as tear gas and smoke grenades were fired inside the rotunda. Several House office buildings were evacuated due to potential bomb threats. Mike Pence was also evacuated. At least one person was shot and taken to a hospital where she later died. As the mob engulfed the Capitol, Trump did not call for calm, but instead tweeted that Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution. The entire District of Columbia National Guard, totaling 1,100 troops, was activated in response to a request from Mayor Muriel Bowser, who also declared a citywide curfew beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern. It is the first time the Capitol has been breached since the British attacked and burned the building down during the War of 1812. Trump then blamed his opponents for the violence and praised the mob that stormed the Capitol as very special, saying, "We can't play into the hands of these people." In a televised speech, Joe Biden condemned Trump for stoking the violence and demanded that the president call on his supporters to end the unprecedented assault on democracy. "This is not dissent," Biden said. "It's disorder. It's chaos. It borders on sedition, and it must end now." He added, "I call on this mob to pull back and allow the work of democracy to go forward." Moments later, Trump tweeted a 1-minute video more than 2 hours after the mob overtook the building and repeated his lie that the election was stolen, while advising the group to go home now, saying, "We have to have peace," and adding, "We love you."
We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
Meanwhile, Democrats won control of the Senate with victories in Georgia's 2 runoff elections, assuring slim majorities in both chambers of Congress for Biden. Raphael Warnock defeated Kelly Loeffler, and John Ossoff won his race against David Perdue. With the Senate now split evenly, Kamala Harris will break 50-50 vote ties, putting Democrats in charge of the legislative agenda, committee chairmanships, and Congress's confirmation and investigative powers. Some Republicans blamed Trump's weeks of baseless claims that Georgia's electoral system was rigged for the Democratic sweep. Moving on, the Trump administration is attempting to undo some civil rights protections for minority groups. The Justice Department submitted a change to how it enforces Title VI of the Civil Rights Act for White House approval. Meanwhile, Russian hackers behind the cyber espionage campaign accessed the Justice Department's email accounts. About 3,500 employee email accounts were accessed, but there is no indication that classified systems were affected. In Alaska, Trump administration officials auctioned off oil and gas leases in the state's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, despite a number of banks saying they would not finance Arctic energy projects due to flat oil prices. The sale of 11 tracts on just over 550,000 acres went for $14.4 million, just a fraction of what Republicans predicted it would yield. And finally, Joe Biden plans to nominate Merrick Garland to be his attorney general. Biden chose Garland over former Senator Doug Jones and former Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates. Republicans blocked Merrick Garland's Supreme Court nomination in 2016.
That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the main website. And as always, visit whatthefjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Amditas.